You think the Bible supports the ICE raids and military deployment all across America? Bet. I've got the biblical receipts. Buckle up. This might hurt a little bit. Hi, I'm Jeremy. I'm a deep skeptic, also a pastor. The Bible is clear, shockingly clear, on how you are to treat immigrants. It says, love the foreigners, for you were foreigners in Egypt. That's Deuteronomy chapter 10. It says, do not mistreat or oppress the foreigner. That is Exodus chapter 22. And then, Jesus says, I was a stranger and you welcomed me in. I know that's not exactly directly about immigrants, but do you remember the story of the political leader who ordered the search for and killing of children? The edict that required Jesus and his family to flee political violence and immigrate to a foreign country? Yeah, that's Matthew chapter 2. And I know you're gonna pull out Romans chapter 13 in the comments. Yes, it does say obey the authorities, but you have to remember that Paul was writing that while he was in prison. And the main point of that is that the authority and power needs to serve justice. It's not a blank check for tyranny. Also, if you're pulling out that verse, you sound like a Christian nationalist. You need to check yourself because that's not okay either. So let's talk about where Jesus was standing in the standoff between the military with their big shields and the protesters. There's actually a story. There's a woman caught in adultery, and there are people that are standing there ready to inflict capital punishment on her for this unjust law. In that setting, Jesus doesn't just stand there and say, well, the law is the law, it's got to be enforced. No. He stands in between them and stops people from enforcing an unjust law. He would be standing on the side of the protesters, pushing back against the military. And I've said it before, but the temple at that time was the locus of political and religious power. Literally, the court that decided on religious lawsuits and religious crimes was located in the temple. And so, when Jesus turns over the tables in the temple, it is an act of political protest. The verse about the woman caught in adultery is John chapter 8, and the one about Jesus turning over the temples is Matthew chapter 21. There is no denying throughout the Bible, God is on the side of the poor and the oppressed and the immigrants. And even when Israel begins to oppress people and involve slaves, God is on the side of the slaves every time. So as a person who the Bible is their sacred text, when you see injustice, protest, speak up, and don't defend those people who are perpetrators of injustice.